Today I'd like to talk very briefly about systems. Systems is a thing that, well, we all know what systems are, and the word gets used an awful lot, so it's kind of like we know about systems and we'll use the word quite unreflectively. But do we know about systems? Do we really have an insight into all the connotations, what it really means when we talk about systems? So obviously, if I'm asking that question, my feeling is that we absolutely don't. We know nothing. As is the case with just about everything, I suppose, really. So systems, it's a kind of generic term. We can have all sorts of systems. Society is a system. I'm talking about human systems here in particular. And if you're a member of a social group, that's a system. If you're a member of a religion, that's a system. So there's all these levels of system, coming down from society right down to a small group of friends. If you've got a small group of friends and you kind of, you do constitute an actual group, as in there's kind of unspoken rules about what it means to be in the group and not in the group, and what the rules are that are implicit in the group that everyone knows and everyone obeys. So there's a kind of a thing where everyone fits together and conforms to these rules. That's what makes a system. So even like a few people, a family, or even just a few people who could be friends, constitute a system. And the idea, the best way to illustrate the idea, I think, is to think of a system such as a kind of corporation that you're working in, a company. Lots of people work in companies, or even some other sort of organisation. Could be anything. Healthcare provider, a health service. All of these are systems. Coca-Cola, another system, but I'm not going to go into Coca-Cola particularly. They might sue me. So the thing about systems is that from the point of view of the system, and from our point of view when we're adapted to the system is unquestionable, all important, all significant. It's like God. If I'm a member, if I'm an employee of a company, and I want to stay in that company and fit in that company and maybe have a career in it, I always have to take the attitude that everything I'm doing is for the system. And more than just an attitude, I have to show that. I have to dedicate my loyalty to the system. I can't go around saying that the system is shit, or that the system is crap, and all of these things that we might quite possibly think, and we might actually, very commonly say to each other on our off time. But officially, if you want to get ahead in the system, you have to say good stuff about the system. And if you're not just a kind of rank and file member of the company, but if you're aiming to get higher up, you want to be an executive, you want to be in the higher levels, you, as is well known, have to live the system. You have to eat it and breathe it, and it has to be coming out of every pore. You have to be a system person, a company person, company man or company woman, or whatever the hell. And from this point of view, anyone that bucks the system or isn't working for the efficiency, to help the efficiency of the system, is like, it's like you're a terrorist. And I've heard people that deliberately, employees that deliberately go against the company, as referred to as not just disgruntled employees, which they're referred of as that as well, but terrorists. There's no understanding of how they could possibly be so wrong-headed as to not pull along with everyone else. It's like a big boat and we're all rowing it, and you've got some feck in Egypt jamming his oar in the water and spinning everything right. He's not rowing like everyone else. He's not pulling his weight. He's not doing the thing he's supposed to. That is absolutely unacceptable. So we have this viewpoint, and the viewpoint is such that the advancement or the benefit or the well-being of the system is the ultimate good. What else matters if you're, jockeying to be one of the higher up executives in a company? The company has to, I'm stating the obvious here, everyone knows this, it's not exactly news. But the curious thing about this is the system is misrepresenting life, because life isn't actually about getting on well in the company. The company has substituted itself in the place of life, in the place of everything, and it's demanding the allegiance that we really shouldn't be giving to some mere thing. It's a false idol. We shouldn't be worshipping it. Sure, we can work in it and we can do what we can to do our bit, but this viewpoint where we see it as the ultimate good is a inversion of the natural order. It's a perversion. The company has then become a false idol. And we know this because we know that people, when they're in the upper strata, they behave damn weird. They're kind of stilted. Everything's artificial, everything's stilted. There's a weird lingo, there's a weird jargon. People behave weird. The whole thing is just kind of screwed up, really. And that's because instead of having their allegiance towards life, which is undefined, or towards the universe, which is undefined, it's been perverted so that our entire allegiance and loyalty is to this goddamn useless thing, which is so trivial and grubby. It's squalid, basically. It's not necessarily squalid if we see it in its right position, but it's squalid if we take it as being the be-all and the end-all, the greatest good there could be. If we see it in the right perspective, maybe it's good, maybe it's a bad company, maybe it's an okay company, if there is such a thing. But when we're actually in it and we're orientating ourselves as if the company is everything, the organisation is everything, then the substitution has taken place. And so we behaving in a weird way. We won't necessarily, or probably we won't see this in each other, because we're all thinking in the same way and we're all speaking the same lingo, and so we're all in the same group, we're all in the same club, so we won't think we're weird unless we have a flash of insight or consciousness, which can happen to the best of us. We can suddenly get a flash of insight and think, oh, what the fuck am I doing? What is this bullshit? But we'll disregard that, because it's important to disregard stuff like that if we want to get ahead in the world. But from the outside, when you see people, these characters that are adapted to their company, the corporation, boy, do they seem weird. It's like they're made out of plastic or something. There's something false about it, something distasteful, unwholesome. It ain't right. And we know that. You can see it. It's unhealthy. I remember in the early days when I was working in a healthcare provider, a big organisation, and then the kind of thing that people would say, kind of shit talk, when people just say stuff and it's not at all meaningful or honest, and people would say, "Are you busy?" And this would be the thing if I'd meet someone from work in a local town. I remember meeting someone in Gort once. "Are you busy?" And in work, "Are you busy?" And then the proper response is, "Oh, whatever, something to show that you are super, super busy, and boy, are you busy. And this is a way of demonstrating allegiance and total loyalty to, because to be busy, obviously you're being busy not as a terrorist, but you're being busy in fulfilling the ends of the organisation, is the ultimate validation. If you're busy, nobody can say a thing against you. It's great to be busy. And that, it took me a time to kind of realise what's going on, kind of being naive or whatever. Remember one lady, I was waiting by a photocopier, as you do, and she was busy. She was kind of a higher up. She was a kind of, not just a staff grade, or she was a manager grade. And so she was making the conversation. She said, "Are you busy?" And not really thinking about it, just being kind of somewhat facetious, I said, "No, to be honest, I'm just killing time till I can go home, really, same as every day." And she was literally shocked. Well, I don't know what other ways of being shocked they are, but she was shocked, totally shocked, aghast. And the look on her face, and she said, "We never say that in the service," or whatever the hell word she used. Shocked, as if I was attending mass and I suddenly started worshipping Satan or something, or something equally extremely shocking. Reflecting on this, and it was a long, long time ago, you can see that it is an elaborate charade or act that everyone puts on, because you can tell from the kind of rigidity and the kind of instant judgmentalism that comes out of it. It's not genuine, it's not coming from a true place. So the weird thing about it is, when we're in this situation like this lady of being manager up in the managerial stratosphere, it's like we're putting on an act, we're enacting a charade, but we don't know it. Maybe we do know it on some level, but that knowing is repressed. And because the knowing of it is the consciousness, because there's always consciousness there somehow, because the consciousness of our falseness is repressed, if anyone says anything, the uncomfortableness that is associated with the repressed consciousness always turns toxic, comes out as judgmentalism, as if to say, "You're a very bad person." They're displacing that uncomfortable awareness onto someone else and saying you're a bad person. We do that the whole time when we're being false. And the more we believe something, like if I am a believer in a religion, boy oh boy will I judge other people. That's famous. I mean, everyone knows that. The more religious you are, the more toxically judgmental and mean-minded you are. Odd, you might say. Well, how does that work? But the thing is, you can't believe without disbelieving. As Michel de Montaigne says, what I believe, I disbelieve. What's happening? I'm in two minds. I'm split against myself. I'm conflicted. But we can't. To believe in something is an act. We force ourselves to believe it. We make ourselves believe it because it suits us. I mean, in Christianity, in a strongly Christian society, damn right it suits you to be Christian. If you're not, you'll be burned or you'll be ostracised from the society. You have to believe in it to get on. So you have to make yourself believe, because belief doesn't happen naturally. We have to buy into it deliberately. You have to say, yeah, you have to agree to believe. But because we're agreeing and we're deliberately doing it, it's an artificial stance, a posture, an artificial posture. It carries with it the equal and opposite posture. The more I try, and the more I throw myself into believing something, the more this is a lie, and the more that lie will come out, and I'll find myself that there'll be a shadow, and that shadow will come out in the form of toxicity, because deep down I know that I don't believe, and that's unacceptable to me, to have that awareness that I don't believe. So if anyone comes along and they're not a believer, just like secretly, I'm not a believer either, but I won't tell anyone, I will lash out with vehemence and venom against this person because they're reminding me of my own falseness. And that's just human nature. There's no point getting excited about it. That's how we tick. That's human nature for you right there. So there is this toxicity that comes in adapting to an artificial structure or system, no matter what it is. And the smallest, taking it right down from the society or the organisation you happen to be working for, whatever the hell, the ego itself is a system. The set of logically consistent ideas we have about ourselves is a system. It's an artificial posture, and it carries a shadow, as is well known to all students of Jung. You know all about the shadow. And so the more I promote myself and appreciate myself in this kind of ego way, that yes, I am this, I am that, I am important because of whatever shit, the more we hate ourselves at the same time, and that's not good. So the ego is toxic, and it has to displace this kind of conflicted emotion onto other people who insult me or aren't aligned with my ego values, my values. If they're aligned with my values, they're great. If they're not, I'm very, very judgmental, and that's coming out of my conflictedness because I'm living a lie and I'm not admitting it. So it all comes down to this question of living a lie and not owning up to it, to oneself. You can do it, we all do it, but it creates toxicity, and that toxicity goes on to create more problems, and it creates a whole lot of shit. And no good comes out of it at all. No good can ever come out of this business of adapting, seriously adapting, not just playfully adapting, saying, and knowing what you're doing, but seriously adapting to a system and believing it and making your whole life about this system and letting it define your whole being, your whole identity, creates toxicity. And out of that, it's a lie, because you're more than that system, you're more than that company, you're broader than that, you're not so narrow. And when you think about it, what the hell does a corporation stand for? These corporations where, when we're part of it, in the upper echelons, we speak so grandly of it and we're so affirming about it. What the hell is it? What's it about? When you look at it really from the outside, it's a piece of shit, really. It's just a little money, scurrilous little money-making kind of crappy little thing by selling some piece of shite to people that don't really need it. Basically, that's what it generally comes down to. It ain't that great. It ain't that fantastic. It's a piece of shit. Really. It's nothing. You shouldn't be dedicating your life to it. It's fucking just Satan. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean that literally. But it's symbolically of a satanic or of a demiurgic nature. Demiurgic means that some lowly kind of thing is substituting itself for the true reality or the true divine principle, which isn't about selling Coca-Cola or aspirin or doing this. It's, it's a little bit more cosmic than that. But we're down on the ground, we're narrow-minded, and all we care about is this shit. Selling crap and making money. Look, I like making money, and, if I had some shit to sell that could make some money, I'd sell it. But it's not the meaning of existence. It's not the be-all and the end-all. It's just a thing you have to do. You have to do it. Of course you do. You have to make some money. But it ain't God. So the whole point about systems is that from the inside, when we're adapted to them, we're worshipping a false god, we're worshipping the demiurge, we can't see beyond that, and we're defining ourselves along totally false lines. And somehow we know that, and there is suffering in that. But no matter what system it is, if we were to be able to look on the outside, look at it from the outside, we'd see it's nothing. It's not the whole world, it's not the be-all and end-all, it's a piece of fly shit on your windscreen or whatever, on your spectacle, whatever, it's just a little piece of crap. It's not the be-all and end-all at all. And it's okay for things to be not the be-all and the end-all if we know that. That's not a bad thing. it is what it is, and it's, has its place. But when we take that little thing and we make it everything, and we deny and denounce and repress everything else, then it becomes, then everything goes over to the dark side. That's the whole point. So that's the whole point of the Gnostic kind of metaphor of the demiurge, really. We're forsaking our entire potential, because none of our potential can come out when we're worshipping the demiurge, when we're orientated towards this piece of crap that we're thinking is the ultimate, the be-all and the end-all. All we can ever be is what the system says. So if we do really, really well in the system will say, you're great, it'll give us accolades, but in reality, we're actually alienated profoundly from what is real. So the more adapted we are to the system, whatever that system is, whether it's the ego or your friends, or your social circle, your religion, your company you work for, when we go all in, as we have to go all in, because you're not allowed just to, you have to go all in for that kind of thing, we're alienated, profoundly alienated from the true nature of things, from the true nature of who we are, and from the true nature of life. And the thing is that at that point, the natural is actually a poison to us. We're living in an entirely artificial way. And the real cure for this is to see through it, so that we can live in the natural way instead, where we won't be living in the shadow. But that's a very big step, and to us, there's no way we can conceptualize it, because there is nothing outside of the system. Therefore, whatever it is that can help us is actually going to be categorized as the ultimate evil. So we try and cure ourselves, and this is where mental health comes in. We try and cure ourselves with artificial means, because we can't use natural means. Because when we are wholly artificial, anything natural is poison.